Seneca once said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." The Stoics knew that unnecessary pain comes from failing to see things for what they truly are. When it comes to relationships, ignoring the red flags in a woman's words is the quickest way to end up in emotional turmoil. If you want to avoid the chaos, you need to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. In this video, we'll go through 7 phrases women say that reveal deeper issues, phrases that signal manipulation, entitlement, or a complete lack of accountability. Pay close attention, because missing just one of these could mean wasting years of your life on the wrong person. Stay until the end, and if you've ever encountered a woman who used these phrases, share your experience in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and let's get started. Chapter 1. A real man would. If a woman ever says, "A real man would do this," or "The real man wouldn't complain about that," stop right there and recognize exactly what is happening. You are being manipulated. This phrase isn't about masculinity, it's about control. It's a carefully disguised psychological tactic designed to make you feel inadequate, to put you on the defensive, and to pressure you into compliance. And the moment you start explaining, justifying, or proving yourself in response to it, you've already lost. At its core, this phrase is an emotional bait and switch. It implies that your worth, your masculinity, and even your identity as a man are up for negotiation. It suggests that unless you act in a way that fits her specific expectations, you are somehow failing. But ask yourself this: who gave her the authority to define what a real man is? Why should her personal desires dictate your value as a man? The answer is simple: they shouldn't. And the only way this tactic works is if you allow it to. Women who use this phrase aren't interested in the true essence of masculinity. They aren't concerned with honor, integrity, or strength of character. They are testing whether they can manipulate you into bending to their will. When she says, "A real man would pay for everything," what she really means is, "I want you to pay, and I'll shame you if you don't." When she says, "A real man wouldn't complain," she means, "I want you to accept whatever I do without question." This isn't about what makes a man real, it's about what makes you controllable. A woman who truly respects you will never use your masculinity against you. She won't attempt to weaponize your identity to get her way. Instead, she will appreciate your natural strength, confidence, and leadership without trying to mold you into her personal ideal. She will understand that being a man isn't about performing according to someone else's checklist, it's about embodying the virtues of wisdom, discipline, and self-respect. Any woman who tries to redefine masculinity to serve her own agenda is revealing something important: she doesn't respect you as you are. A strong, stoic man does not fall for these games. He knows his worth is not defined by a woman's opinion. He doesn't need external validation to confirm his masculinity because he already embodies it in his actions, mindset, and values. The moment you start seeking approval for your masculinity, you hand over control of your identity to someone else. And that is the exact opposite of strength. Recognizing this manipulation is the first step. The second step is refusing to engage. When she says, "A real man would do this," don't argue. Don't justify. Don't seek approval. Simply acknowledge the manipulation for what it is and refuse to play along. A powerful response? Silence. A smirk. A simple, interesting perspective before moving on. The more you defend yourself, the more power you give away. Remember, a man who truly understands his value doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't live for validation. He doesn't seek approval. He sets the standard for his own life and lets others either respect it or walk away. The moment she tries to dictate what a real man should be, recognize the trap. She's placing conditions on respect and using shame as a tool to control you. That's not a partnership, that's manipulation. And a man of true strength never allows himself to be manipulated. In the end, masculinity isn't about meeting someone else's expectations. It's about standing firm in your own. It's about leading your life with discipline, integrity, and unshakable self-respect. And no woman, no matter how attractive, charming, or persuasive, should ever have the power to redefine that for you. A real man isn't the one who submits to someone else's definition. A real man is the one who defines himself. Chapter 2. If you really like me, you would. This phrase is one of the oldest and most common manipulation tactics in relationships. It's an emotional snare designed to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries and maintaining your personal autonomy. Instead of directly asking for what she wants or engaging in an honest, open discussion, she attempts to coerce you into proving your feelings on her terms, under her conditions. It's a power move, not a request. And the moment you fall for it, you enter a cycle of emotional bargaining that erodes your confidence, autonomy, and ability to navigate the relationship on equal footing. At its core, this phrase weaponizes affection. It turns love into a test, an obligation rather than a choice. A woman who truly values and respects you will never resort to such tactics. She won't force affection by making you jump through hoops. Instead, she'll communicate her desires clearly and allow you the space to decide how you want to respond without fear, pressure, or guilt. Healthy relationships are built on mutual understanding, trust, and respect, not ultimatums disguised as affection. When you hear a phrase like this, recognize it for what it is, an attempt to manipulate your emotions. A woman who uses this line is often trying to override your reasoning by making you feel like you're failing her in some way. The unspoken message behind it is, if you don't do what I want, then you don't truly care about me. This kind of emotional blackmail forces you into a position where you either sacrifice your own needs to appease her or risk being labeled as uncaring or uncommitted. But here's the truth, a relationship should never feel like an emotional hostage situation. A Stoic man does not fall into this trap. Instead of reacting emotionally, he remains grounded in logic. He recognizes that love, respect, and attraction should be freely given, not demanded. He understands that true connection isn't built on compliance, but on a shared desire to contribute to the relationship without force or manipulation. So when faced with this phrase, don't engage in her game. Don't try to prove your worth through obedience. Simply stand firm in your boundaries and respond with calm reasoning. Consider this, if she genuinely cared about the relationship, she wouldn't need to manipulate you into compliance. She would communicate her needs openly, with clarity and honesty. She would trust that if the relationship is strong, she doesn't need to pressure you into proving anything. And if she refuses to do that, if she continuously tests your emotions and demands proof of love through sacrifice, then you must recognize a hard truth: she does not respect you. And a relationship without respect is not one worth fighting for. If you ever find yourself in a situation where a woman expects you to prove your love through compliance, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this how a healthy relationship should function? A man who knows his worth will never feel the need to jump through hoops to prove his affection. Love should be freely expressed, not extracted through guilt. And if she can't respect that, the best thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact. A man who values himself doesn't negotiate with emotional blackmail. He sets the standard for how he should be treated and refuses to settle for less. Chapter 3. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. This phrase is one of the biggest red flags a woman can wave. It's often used as a shield to excuse toxic, immature, and even outright abusive behavior. Instead of taking responsibility for her actions, she frames them as something you must endure, almost like a test of your love and loyalty. But think about it logically. Why should you be expected to tolerate the worst version of her while she puts no effort into becoming better? This phrase is often spoken with an air of defiance, as if she's making some profound declaration about love and acceptance. But in reality, it's nothing more than emotional manipulation. It sets a dangerous precedent. She can act out, be cruel, be reckless, be inconsiderate, and it's your job to just handle it. If you push back, if you call her out on her behavior, suddenly you are the problem. You're not strong enough, you're not loyal enough, you just don't understand her. A mature, self-aware woman doesn't operate this way. She understands that personal growth is part of any healthy relationship. She doesn't see her flaws as weapons to test your endurance. She doesn't wear her worst qualities as a badge of honor, expecting you to prove yourself by suffering through them. Instead, she actively works to become a better person for herself, for her relationship, and for her future. Now, let's break this phrase down further. The implication is that if you truly love her, you will stick around no matter how bad she gets. But love isn't about blind endurance. A relationship is not about one person being the storm and the other being the shelter. If she's creating chaos and expects you to handle it, she's not looking for a partner, she's looking for a punching bag. Imagine if a man used this same logic. If he said, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best," while being emotionally distant, unfaithful, irresponsible, or outright cruel, would that be acceptable? Of course not. A woman would be told to run, to protect herself, to not waste her time on a man who refuses to grow. So why should it be any different when the roles are reversed? Stoicism teaches that self-mastery is key. A Stoic man doesn't allow himself to be ruled by external chaos. He seeks peace, clarity, and control over his emotions. He values relationships that contribute to his well-being, not ones that constantly drain him. And most importantly, he understands that love should not feel like survival. A woman who refuses to improve but demands that you tolerate her worst behavior is showing you exactly what the future will look like. And that's a future filled with chaos, excuses, and endless drama. Today it might be angry outbursts, emotional instability, or self-sabotage. But over time, it escalates. She will push boundaries further and further, seeing how much you're willing to endure. The more you accept, the less incentive she has to change. Before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle of apologizing for things that aren't your fault, fixing problems she creates, and constantly walking on eggshells to avoid triggering her next meltdown. The truth is, you are not obligated to handle anyone's worst if they aren't actively working toward their best. That's not love, that's self-sacrifice. And a relationship should never require you to lose yourself just to keep someone else happy. So when you hear this phrase, don't take it as some kind of romantic challenge. Take it as a warning. It's not your job to fix her, to endure her, or to prove yourself worthy by suffering through her worst. A woman who truly values you will want to become the best version of herself, not force you to withstand the worst. A Stoic man walks away from relationships built on ultimatums and emotional manipulation. He invests in people who bring peace, not chaos. And he never, ever falls for the lie that love means tolerating toxicity. Chapter 4. She gives ultimatums. If you don't do this, we're over. If you don't stop talking to them, I'll leave. If you don't prove your love to me, I'll find someone who will. Ultimatums are a form of manipulation, plain and simple. They aren't about compromise, understanding, or finding common ground. They are about power and control. When a woman constantly threatens to leave the relationship unless you comply with her demands, she's not just being difficult, she's showing you that she values control more than connection. A relationship should be built on trust, respect, and open communication. But when a woman uses ultimatums to get what she wants, she replaces those pillars with fear and coercion. Instead of working through issues as a team, she forces you into a corner, making you feel like you have no choice but to submit. That's not love, that's emotional blackmail. A woman who truly respects you will express her concerns, desires, and boundaries in a way that encourages healthy discussion. She won't demand that you comply with threats of abandonment. She won't make you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, constantly fearing that the next disagreement will result in her leaving. When a woman genuinely cares about you and the relationship, she will work with you, not against you. But a woman who thrives on ultimatums sees relationships differently. She sees them as a game of control where she always has to maintain the upper hand. If she senses that you're slipping out of her grasp, maybe you're gaining more confidence, standing up for yourself, or refusing to bend to her every whim, she will escalate her tactics. The ultimatums will become more severe, the emotional stakes higher. And if you give in, she learns that this method works. She realizes that every time she threatens to leave, you will scramble to make her happy. This sets up a toxic pattern where she no longer feels the need to ask for what she wants, she simply demands it. A Stoic man does not fall for this kind of manipulation. He understands that relationships require mutual respect, not forced compliance. He refuses to operate under threats or emotional blackmail. If a woman tries to control him through ultimatums, he doesn't panic. He doesn't beg or plead. He doesn't let fear dictate his actions. Instead, he calmly calls her bluff. Here's the hard truth: if she's willing to walk away over something minor, she was never truly committed in the first place. A woman who is deeply invested in you won't throw away the relationship over a disagreement. She won't make you feel like love is conditional on your obedience. So, what should you do when faced with a woman who thrives on ultimatums? You hold your ground. You make it clear that you will not be manipulated. You tell her, "I'm happy to talk about our issues, but I won't be forced into anything through threats." And if she follows through on her ultimatum, if she actually leaves because you refuse to submit, then let her go. A relationship built on coercion isn't worth keeping. A strong, confident man does not negotiate under pressure. He does not sacrifice his self-respect to keep someone in his life. A woman who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to choose between your dignity and the relationship. If she gives you an ultimatum, she's showing you that she sees the relationship as a battlefield, not a partnership. And a Stoic man never fights a battle he doesn't need to win. Instead, he walks away with his head held high, knowing that real love is never built on fear, but on respect. Chapter 5. This is just how I am. This phrase might sound harmless at first, but when you hear a woman say it in response to a valid concern or criticism, it's a red flag. It's another way of saying, "I refuse to grow, change, or take accountability for my actions." Rather than acknowledging flaws or working toward self-improvement, she uses this as a shield to justify bad behavior. Everyone has flaws, it's part of being human. No one is perfect, and no one expects perfection. But there's a difference between having flaws and refusing to acknowledge them. A mature person understands that growth is a lifelong process. They recognize their weaknesses and actively work on them, especially in relationships. But when a woman defaults to "this is just how I am" anytime you bring up a concern, she's telling you she has no intention of improving. At its core, this phrase is a lazy excuse. It shifts responsibility onto you, making it clear that she expects you to accommodate her instead of her making any effort to change. That's not a partnership, it's entitlement. In a healthy relationship, both people are committed to becoming better together. That requires introspection, compromise, and a willingness to adapt. But when someone refuses to evolve, they are essentially saying, "Take me as I am, flaws and all, and don't expect anything different." That mindset leads to stagnation, resentment, and eventually, toxicity. Think about what this phrase really means in practice. If she's rude or dismissive, she won't change because that's just how she is. If she disrespects your time, boundaries, or emotions, she'll expect you to tolerate it. If she has unhealthy habits, destructive tendencies, or refuses to communicate like an adult, she'll demand that you accept them instead of making any effort to be better. And if you push back, she'll frame you as controlling, demanding, or unreasonable. A Stoic man doesn't waste time trying to change someone who refuses to change themselves. He understands that self-improvement is a fundamental part of life, and he surrounds himself with people who share that mindset. He knows that a person who refuses to grow will only bring unnecessary conflict, stress, and stagnation into his life. Let's be clear, growth doesn't mean changing everything about yourself to please others. It means being self-aware enough to recognize when your behavior is harmful, ineffective, or standing in the way of your own success. It means being open to feedback and willing to make adjustments when necessary. But when a woman refuses to even consider change, she's prioritizing her comfort over the health of the relationship. And if someone refuses to evolve, they will eventually drag you down with them. A woman who truly values a relationship won't dismiss valid concerns with "this is just how I am." Instead, she'll say, "I see what you're saying, and I'll work on it." That's the difference between someone who's mature and someone who's emotionally stagnant. So, what should a Stoic man do when he hears this phrase? Walk away. Not in anger, not in frustration, but with the calm understanding that her refusal to grow is not your burden to bear. You can't force someone to change, and you shouldn't waste your time trying. A woman who embraces personal growth will elevate your life. A woman who refuses will only hold you back. The choice is clear. Don't let her stagnation become your burden. Chapter 6. I hate drama, but always creates it. You've probably met someone like this before. She swears up and down that she hates drama. She says it with exasperation, rolling her eyes, as if the universe just keeps throwing unnecessary conflict her way. And yet, somehow, everywhere she goes, drama seems to follow. Coincidence? Not at all. The truth is, people who loudly proclaim they dislike drama are often the ones who generate it the most. It's a form of misdirection. By constantly declaring herself to be above the chaos, she diverts attention away from the fact that she's the one causing it. If you watch closely, you'll notice that she stirs up conflict, gossips about others, and creates unnecessary tension in social circles. And when things inevitably explode, she plays the victim. "I don't know why this always happens to me," she'll say. But deep down, she does know, she just doesn't want to admit it. A woman who truly hates drama doesn't talk about it all the time, she simply avoids it. She doesn't get involved in petty conflicts, she doesn't feel the need to meddle in other people's business, and she certainly doesn't gossip behind people's backs while pretending to be innocent. Instead, she moves with grace, self-respect, and maturity. But the woman who constantly complains about drama while being at the center of it. She thrives on the emotional highs and lows, the tension, the attention it brings her. For her, drama is more than just a habit, it's a source of validation. When she stirs the pot and gets people talking, she feels important. She enjoys the rush of emotions, the feeling of being at the center of events, and the attention it brings her from others. And if she ever finds herself in a peaceful situation, she'll find a way to disrupt it. Peace bores her. She craves conflict because it makes her feel alive. She doesn't just passively experience drama, she actively creates it. It can take many forms: spreading rumors, twisting the truth, exaggerating minor conflicts, or playing the victim in situations where she is actually the instigator. Sometimes, she might stir up drama through manipulation, setting people against each other while keeping her hands clean. Other times, she outright causes conflict, then pretends to be innocent when confronted. But regardless of the method, the result is always the same: chaos follows wherever she goes. This behavior is not random. It's a deeply ingrained pattern. Some people rely on drama for emotional stimulation because they lack stability within themselves. They need conflict to feel relevant, to receive sympathy, or to control those around them. They are addicted to the adrenaline rush that comes from conflict, the excitement of a fight, the thrill of making others react, the satisfaction of feeling superior when others are distressed. It's a cycle that never ends, because peace and harmony don't provide the same level of emotional stimulation. A Stoic man doesn't get pulled into that chaos. He values peace, emotional stability, and rational thinking. He understands that unnecessary drama is a waste of time and energy. A woman who constantly creates conflict, whether in friendships, relationships, or social settings, is a liability. She drains energy, creates distractions, and keeps people in a constant state of emotional turbulence. And for what? A temporary sense of importance? That's not a price a Stoic man is willing to pay. If you find yourself with a woman who is always caught up in some feud, some rivalry, or some scandal, pay attention. If she's always talking about how others are jealous of her, how people are constantly attacking her, or how she's the victim of endless misunderstandings, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this really just bad luck? Or is she the common denominator? A healthy relationship is built on trust, respect, and emotional balance. A woman who thrives on drama will sabotage that balance every time. She'll create problems where there are none, manipulate situations to keep herself at the center of attention, and make your life more stressful than it needs to be. And when you finally get fed up and call her out, she'll say you're overreacting, that you're too sensitive, or that you just can't handle a strong woman. She may also use gaslighting tactics, making you doubt your own perceptions. She'll rewrite history, insist that events didn't happen the way you remember, and frame herself as the real victim. The goal is to keep you confused and emotionally invested, to keep you constantly chasing her approval, and to make you feel like you're the one causing problems when, in reality, she is the common denominator of every conflict. A Stoic man knows better. He sees through the illusions. He doesn't fall for manipulation, and he doesn't let himself be emotionally hijacked by someone who thrives on chaos. Instead, he prioritizes inner peace, rational decision-making, and emotional self-control. If a woman constantly creates turmoil but refuses to acknowledge her role in it, he walks away without hesitation. Life is too short to spend it with someone who thrives on negativity. A relationship should be a sanctuary, not a battleground. A strong, self-respecting man understands this. He doesn't engage in pointless arguments, he doesn't waste energy on unnecessary drama, and he certainly doesn't allow himself to be manipulated into emotional turmoil. Instead, he seeks peace, emotional stability, and a partner who shares his values. So, the next time you encounter a woman who constantly complains about drama but always seems to be at the center of it, trust your instincts. Pay attention to patterns. Is she truly a victim of bad luck, or is she orchestrating the chaos herself? Does she take responsibility for her actions, or does she always blame others? The answers will tell you everything you need to know. The truth is, you don't need to handle anything, you need to walk away. A Stoic man knows that peace is more valuable than temporary excitement. He refuses to let someone else's chaos become his reality. If she's always in the middle of conflict but insists she hates drama, don't fall for the act. See through the illusion, recognize the pattern, and move on. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. True strength isn't found in enduring unnecessary turmoil, it's found in the ability to walk away from it. A man who values himself doesn't waste his time on people who bring more problems than peace. He surrounds himself with individuals who uplift, support, and respect him. And when he encounters a woman who thrives on chaos, he simply exits the situation, leaving her to create drama for someone else. That's the power of self-respect. That's the wisdom of a Stoic man. Chapter 7. You can't handle a strong woman. This phrase gets thrown around a lot, but not because it's true, because it's convenient. It's often used as a defense mechanism rather than an honest assessment of the situation. The goal is to shut down criticism, to make it seem like the issue isn't the woman's behavior, but rather the man's inability to handle her supposed strength. It's a tactic designed to flip the script, turning any disagreement or boundary setting into an accusation of weakness. But let's break that down and see it for what it really is. A truly strong woman doesn't need to announce her strength, she embodies it. You see it in the way she navigates life, how she faces adversity, and how she treats others. Strength isn't about being loud, aggressive, or constantly asserting dominance. It's about composure, resilience, and respect. A strong woman doesn't need to belittle others to feel powerful, nor does she use emotional outbursts to get her way. Instead, she handles conflict with maturity, communicates her needs clearly, and understands that respect is a two-way street. A woman who is truly strong does not fear accountability, nor does she try to disguise rudeness as confidence. When a woman says, "You just can't handle a strong woman," it often has little to do with actual strength and more to do with her own unwillingness to reflect on her behavior. In many cases, it's an excuse to justify arrogance, stubbornness, or outright hostility. Instead of considering whether she's being rude, disrespectful, or dismissive, she shifts the blame onto the man, implying that he's weak for not tolerating her attitude. This is not strength, it's a lack of accountability. It's a refusal to engage in genuine self-reflection. It's an attempt to make a man feel guilty for expecting basic respect in a relationship. A woman who constantly feels the need to prove how strong she is often isn't strong at all, she's insecure. People who are truly powerful don't need to broadcast it. They don't need to remind everyone around them of their strength because their actions naturally show it. A woman who is genuinely strong doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard, doesn't need to demand respect to receive it, and doesn't need to push others down to lift herself up. True strength isn't about domination, it's about mastery of self. A Stoic man isn't intimidated by strong women. In fact, he respects and admires them. He values intelligence, independence, and resilience in a partner. He appreciates a woman who has her own ambitions, who can navigate life with confidence, and who is emotionally mature. But he also understands the difference between true strength and disguised insecurity. He won't be manipulated into thinking that setting boundaries or expecting mutual respect makes him weak. A woman who constantly tries to prove her dominance through aggression or disrespect is not someone a Stoic man will entertain for long. A man with true self-respect doesn't stay in a relationship where his boundaries are constantly tested under the guise of strength. He doesn't waste time explaining to someone why basic kindness isn't a weakness. He doesn't let himself be bullied into thinking that being patient, calm, and composed means he lacks masculinity. A woman who is truly strong would recognize these qualities as strengths, not weaknesses. She would appreciate a man who knows his worth, who doesn't feel the need to prove himself through conflict, and who holds himself to high standards. Strength should never come at the expense of kindness and humility. The most powerful people in the world don't need to prove their power. They don't demand respect, they earn it through their actions. Likewise, a truly strong woman doesn't need to put others down to lift herself up. She moves with grace, self-assurance, and dignity. That is the kind of strength that commands admiration. That is the kind of woman a Stoic man will respect, cherish, and stand beside. On the other hand, a woman who repeatedly uses the phrase, "You just can't handle a strong woman," is revealing something crucial. she is trying to avoid taking responsibility for how she behaves. This phrase is often a smokescreen, a way to mask the fact that she is being confrontational, unreasonable, or outright disrespectful. If she were truly strong, she wouldn't need to say it. Her actions would show it. A Stoic man is not in competition with his partner. He doesn't need to battle for dominance in a relationship. He seeks harmony, not conflict. He understands that true strength in both men and women is about composure, not chaos. It's about control over oneself, not control over others. He doesn't engage in pointless power struggles, nor does he feel the need to prove himself to someone who equates aggression with confidence. So, the next time you hear someone say, "You just can't handle a strong woman," ask yourself, are they truly strong, or are they just using that phrase as a smokescreen for toxic behavior? Are they embodying true resilience, or are they simply trying to justify their unwillingness to compromise, to communicate, and to show respect? Because a man with self-respect and a Stoic mindset doesn't engage in battles where the only way to win is to tolerate disrespect. Real strength, both in men and women, is quiet. It doesn't need to be announced, proven, or forced. It exists naturally, through actions, through integrity, and through the ability to lead with both confidence and humility. A truly strong woman doesn't need to say, "You just can't handle a strong woman." Instead, she inspires admiration through the way she carries herself, treats others, and navigates life with grace and resilience. And that, above all, is the kind of strength that truly matters. Words matter. The things a woman says can reveal her character long before her actions do. When you hear these red flag phrases, don't ignore them. They're warning signs that can save you from months or even years of wasted time and emotional stress. A Stoic man listens carefully. He doesn't get caught up in emotions or manipulation. He recognizes toxic patterns early and walks away without hesitation. If you've ever encountered a woman who used these phrases, share your experience in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and always remember, your peace is worth more than any relationship.